I was going to say 40K enthusiasts, but I've got Dark Heresy on the mind right now. What is it? Blood and Glory or Blades and Glory? The new 40K RPG that GW is soon to be released or GW backed. I am intrigued. So what I wanted to do, though, is post out here because in many ways, you guys from across the spectrum on my channel, whether it's 40K, Battletech, board gaming, or in this case, role-playing, you're my secret weapon. You cut down on the meta. I'm listening to your ideas. I'm checking out your channels. I'm following the links. And I'm really expanding tremendously. I'm tapping into that like multi-level marketing of the internet here, going beyond the experiences of my local gaming group. And right now, I'm running a Warhammer Fantasy roleplay, tabletop, having a blast doing it. It's interesting. I've got my online D&D group running. That's happening. We're kind of making our way through introductions and now formally starting the adventure proper. The link to that, in case you're interested in a D&D game, new players always welcome. So if you come to this podcast like months from now, we'll still be playing. You can jump in anytime. That link will take you to my blog, and then there's a link there to the sub-blog where we're playing this by post. I'm not going to give away any spoilers. But I've got some really, really wicked stuff planned. And the title of the game, Dracus Rising, kind of points to where we are going. But the question here is, I need recommendations on a fantasy-based role-playing game. I'm looking, look, I love D&D. I love Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay. But I am looking for something really, really different, really kind of breaking the mold of those two things in a fantasy setting. So something like GURPS, and I played GURPS a long time ago. It's generic right on there, and certainly they have supplements for fantasy. But rules-wise and mechanics, could be high magic, could be low magic. What should I be looking at? And what intrigued me was it's supposed to release this year. I'm a big Witcher fan. I know that RPG has been in the works. I'm really, really interested to see it with the mechanics and some of the things that I've seen and heard. I really like, but are we going to get it this year? Probably not. It's a small publishing house. A great example of something that I'm looking for, but I'm not going to play, Rolemaster. I loved Rolemaster. I love the mechanics of it. I love the detail in that combat was super, super lethal. You know, D&D, you've got like hundreds and hundreds of hit points, dragons breathing fire, magic on you, and you're just like walking around like, what? You're like RoboCop, all jacked up. Then you get to something like Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay, where, you know, you announce, well, I'm playing a mage, I'm playing a wizard, and the other party members are like quickly backing up, because anytime you use magic and you tap into the warp, the machinations of chaos come out, and like all sorts of crazy stuff happens. And then you just get hit, you know, Beastman hits you in Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay, and you just get maimed. You get mauled on there. You could actually get killed from one shot. So Rolemaster was like these to the extreme, where you have a kind of a weapon skill, you have modifiers and stuff, your opponent has defensive modifiers, and you come up with this calculation. It's calculation heavy. You come up with this calculation, and then you roll on these charts where it's like all sorts of crazy bone-crunching, maiming, combat damage type stuff, where if you're not heavily armored up, you know, you really could be killed on there. So it's very, very unique, and I enjoyed playing Rolemaster. Ultimately, the challenge for me with Rolemaster is it was way too much bookkeeping and accounting, and I do enough of that like in real life, so I want to kind of have something a little bit different. But I say that as an example because it's an excellent system of doing something different. So I'm looking for something in the mechanics, in the game itself. What should I be looking at? What should I be exploring? What do you recommend? And it doesn't have to be like, you know, like real deal role play, hardcore role play. It could be a kind of a more fun system, a playful type system on there. Maybe an example would be something like Paranoia, only in fantasy terms. And I'm getting ready for my twice yearly Paranoia game. I'm always the computer because the computer knows best. The computer is your friend, right? But maybe something like that equivalency in a fantasy type setting. So what do you recommend? What should I be looking at, either PM or down there in the links down there underneath this podcast, just to take a look at and consider?